Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. If you don't know me, my name is Natalie, and today I just wanted to talk about some things to think about prior to getting a pet. And I lean more towards getting a cat or dog, or I guess I specifically am talking about that, but I think a lot of the things I'm going to talk about can be related to any kind of pet. So, obviously it doesn't have to be super complicated if you are going to get a pet or not, but I do think that if you're not sure or if you've never had a pet before, there are definitely some things to think about. So a little bit about me in case you don't know. Up until a year ago, I had been in the veterinary industry for 22 years. So I feel like I definitely have some experience to offer up to you guys and give you a little heads up. The first thing that I would look into is what breed are you looking at getting? Now, you can just go to your local rescue, your local humane society, and get a mixed breed. That's totally fine, to each their own. I don't lean towards going towards a breeder. I don't lean towards going to the humane society. It's totally up to you. But if you're going to a breed specific rescue, look up the breed and look at what energy requirements it has. Look at if it's kid friendly, if that's what you need them to be. Look at what kind of environment they thrive in. Do they need a lot of exercise? Are they totally fine with living in an apartment and don't have a lot of exercise requirements? Look at what medical issues they may be prone to. So just the first thing that comes to mind are French bulldogs. Super cute, love them, and I think every animal deserves a home. But they can have some severe skin allergy issues. And even with English bulldogs, it's just kind of the bulldog breed in general, can have severe skin issues. And something to think about is, what am I going to need to do to maintain a healthy pet? Am I going to need to have certain medicines, certain shampoos, certain whites, that kind of thing? So definitely look into breed requirements and medical issues that you may expect with that breed. And if it's a mixed breed dog, it's going to be obviously a lot more tricky. And generally with mixed breeds, there's not just two breeds, there's usually like 3 or 4, maybe even more. Otherwise, looking at breeds specifically, you can find out a lot of information. If they tend to be like a really good, one pet household kind of pet, that's another thing to know in case you already have other pets. Are they a senior pet and they may have more needs? Well, not may. Most senior pets will definitely have more of a need. They need to go out more. They may need certain prescription diet. They may need certain prescriptions. So it's definitely important to kind of do your research before you get a specific breed, if that's possible. The next thing to think about before you get a pet is, have you accounted for what that pet will cost you per month? Because there's definitely a monthly fee, especially for cats and dogs. I don't really know that much about exotics, but for cats and dogs, you're looking at heartworm prevention, you're looking at flea prevention. If they're puppies or kittens, you're looking at going to the vet several times in order to get vaccinated appropriately. You're looking at getting them spayed or neutered if they're not already coming that way. You're looking at getting their teeth cleaned when they hit about age 2 or 3. And if they're a senior pet, you're looking at medicines and maybe some extra blood work or certain things that may need to be looked into if they come up with certain medical issues, if that makes sense. So there's definitely a monthly budget to think about. There's also their food. Even if you're just getting an over-the-counter good quality food, it's a monthly budget. And if you have a really big pet, all of those things are just going to be that much more expensive, right? So they eat more food, their medications tend to need to be a higher milligram, meaning that you may need 2 of a medication instead of just 1, in order to get the right milligram that they need. So just know there's definitely a budget to think about, a monthly budget to think about when you're getting a pet. And one thing to do, especially if you're getting a puppy or kitten or a senior pet, is to call your vet or a vet that you may be going to and say, you know, what do you charge for a series of kitten vaccines or puppy vaccines? What do you charge for a spay or a neuter? What do you charge for annual blood work? You know, that's definitely research you can do prior to, just to have an idea. You know, the veterinary industry is not regulated, so prices can range. Although they, you know, vets try to be competitive, but I'm just saying, you don't know. You have to call and find out, and find a place that you feel comfortable with, because you do pay for what you get. From what my experience is, you know, you can go and not get any pain meds for a post-surgery, or not get any pre-medication, so that that pet has a more smooth anesthetic procedure, or a smoother recovery time. So, you know, is your pet getting IV fluids during that procedure? Are they doing blood work prior to make sure that their liver and kidneys can function normally with getting that anesthetic? You know, it's definitely something that you pay for what you get, and you know, I believe that you want good quality, so you want those things, in my opinion. So that's definitely the second thing to think about, is what is the monthly budget? Do I have the monthly budget? Have I saved enough money for a surgery if they need it? You know, and emergencies do happen, so that's another thing to think about, is how would I pay for it if an emergency came up? And not that you want to think worst case scenario, but it can happen. They may need emergency surgery if they eat something they shouldn't have and it's not coming out of their system. If they're not processing it, you know, that can be a problem. Or did they, again, eat something they shouldn't have and it's toxic and you have to get it out? You know, so those are things to keep in mind as far as having a little bit of money set aside for that, if you can. The third thing to think about is, do I have a veterinarian to go to? There's a few different scenarios with this. Is either A, you already have a vet you know and love, and that's where you're going to take any pet that you get in the future, or you don't have a vet, you don't already have a pet, and you're not going to one, so you talk to your friends, you talk to your family, you talk to your neighbors, and try and see if they know of a good one. And I would try to go to that vet, or just call the office and see, you know, how they interact with you over the phone. I mean, I think you can tell a lot by the staff how your visits will go, even with just a phone call. But the other thing to look into, if you don't already have an established vet, is, can I do a meet and greet with the vet? And don't expect to take a lot of time, maybe 15 minutes max, just to say, I would love to just meet with you and talk with you a little bit and make sure that it's a good fit. And, you know, they won't all do it, but I think it's worth asking, just to see if it's, like I said, a good fit. You know, what kind of medicine do they practice? Are they friendly? Are they honest? Do you feel like they're going to take care of you and your pet? So definitely, you know, have a vet ready to go. Have an emergency vet ready to go, which a lot of times, if you go to your general practitioner, they're going to have an ER vet, or they may be 24 hours. It just depends. There's different scenarios that can happen, but it's good to have that information ready to go, especially with puppies and kittens, or if you're going to a breeder, you always want to get the pet inspected right after you've adopted them, and just get a general checkup and make sure they're good, because sometimes they're not, and it may be a situation that you're not prepared to handle. And it may be a situation where you're calling the breeder and saying, hey, there's A, B, and C going on with this pet. Did you know that? I can't really afford that, and it's not a good scenario, but it's still one to address. Definitely have your pet checked out after you've adopted them. Even if they've had their own checkup with the breeder, their own checkup at the Humane Society, or with the local rescue, always go to your own vet, usually within the first couple of days after getting the pet, in order to make sure there's nothing going on that you didn't know about. So the first thing to think about before you get a pet is, do you have the time? With puppies and kittens and senior pets, these are pets that need more time, for sure. And I know a lot of us are home right now, or have been home, or work from home. It's still an important question to ask. Do I have the time? Can I walk them 3 to maybe 5 times a day? Can I give them medication if they need it 2 or 3 times a day? Am I home enough time during the day to really give them, love and affection, and have it be worth them staying in my home? Because if you work 24-hour shifts, that means that you're gonna need somebody to be home to take them out, or to, pay a pet sitter to go and walk them, or even like a technician from a hospital if your pet needs medications while you're gone on your shift. I think it's definitely things to consider before you get a pet, is, do you have the time? And if you don't have the time, at least to get them out, then can you afford a pet sitter? Can you afford a dog walker, let's say? I think cats are a little bit more low maintenance until they start needing, medications, or sometimes they need to get fluids under their skin if they have a kidney issue. So, knowing that you can spend enough time with your pet, A, for them to enjoy their life, B, for you to enjoy them, and C, just basic animal needs, is definitely something to consider. The fifth thing to think about is, do you have other pets around? Do you already own pets? And how is that going to go? Some pets are definitely, they want all of the attention, and you may not know what to do with another pet. Sometimes it's a perfectly easy transition, but it is still something to think about. Again, do I have money for a second pet or a third pet? Do I have the time to give both of my pets quality time and take care of them as they need to be? And do know that sometimes it doesn't work out with personalities, and with cats they may fight, with dogs they may fight, and you may have an issue where it doesn't work out, and you're going to be looking at, well, how can I fix this situation? And you may need to rehome one of them. I don't think that's a very common situation, but it's definitely something to think about before you get a pet, is how are my current pets going to react to this, and do I have the time and money for an additional pet? Because it's the whole monthly budget again. It's I gotta get them spayed or neutered if they're younger, or they just haven't been spayed or neutered as of yet. Are they a senior pet, and they're going to need A, B, and C in addition to what my other pet already needs? So just some things to think about there. And the last thing to think about is, if you are going with a breeder, to research the breeder, look at their reviews, look at where their pets are being kept. So when they've had the puppies or kittens, they'll keep them in their home, but you want to know where that spot is, and you want to go there. You want to know the environment, you want to know that it's clean, and they should definitely be providing you with a health certificate that has started their vaccines or has done general dewormings, or that they have at least had an inspection. But most of the time there's going to be those three things: maybe their first vaccine, general dewormings, and that they've been examined by a veterinarian. Those are three key things that should be happening. And most of the time they shouldn't be adopted out until they're, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks of age. Definitely not before 6 weeks. So yeah, research the breeder, know the environment that they're staying in, definitely get paperwork, and know what kind of rules that they have. Some breeders will say, oh, you can't get them spayed, or you have to keep them on a certain diet. And personally, I wouldn't agree to those things, because you are now the owner. But some breeders have requirements, so I'm just putting it out there for you to kind of look into that and look at the paperwork that you're signing, and hopefully there is at least paperwork that you're getting, just to know that, okay, that these pets have been cared for prior to them being adopted out. And usually you're paying a breeder a pretty significant amount, so there really shouldn't be a problem with that being something that you get as part of the package, if that makes sense. So that's it. Those are 6 things to think about before you get a pet. Hopefully that wasn't too much information, but if you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. And like I said, it doesn't have to be super complicated, but being in the industry, you see things, and you want people to know as much information as possible before they get a pet, because some people are not prepared. You start to get attached, your family gets attached, and it's hard to go back, and you're in a situation that really you weren't prepared for. So I just want to give you some information to help prepare you, and spread the knowledge. And I hope that this was helpful, and that's it. So again, I hope you guys are having a great day, and until next time.